That day, when I saw him again after everything, time seemed to hold its breath. CEO Toan stood before me, his eyes filled with tears he could no longer hide. In that fragile moment, I saw it all: the longing, the pain, the love that had never truly left us. And then, as if the universe had been waiting for this very breath, he asked me to stay, to be his, forever. My heart answered before my lips could. I said, yes, because after all we've been through, love was still there, quietly holding us both.
The rain had just stopped when the two figures slowly approached the gate of the police station. One looked pale and exhausted, her steps light but hesitant. The other, though firm and strong, couldn't hide the tremble in his breath. He had searched for days, crossing rivers and forests, knocking on every door, chasing even the faintest trace of hope. And now, with her standing beside him alive, safe, he can hardly contain the emotion swelling in his chest. She looked at him, eyes glistening with gratitude. Her voice was soft, still weak from the days she had been lost. I didn't think I would see you again. He turned away for a moment, but it was too late. The tears had already fallen. Through trembling lips, he whispered, "You're home now." In the quiet room where they gave their testimony, she recounted the terrifying moment she witnessed: a masked men burying something or someone in the forest. Her body shook as she spoke, and he moved closer, offering silent strength. The officers listened attentively, promising to investigate the incident thoroughly. But for both of them, that moment was more than just a report. It was a step toward healing, toward starting again. When they left the station, he held her hand tighter. She didn't pull away. Back at the farmhouse, surrounded by the peace of nature, he offered her warmth, food, and care. He told her she could stay as long as she needed. She looked down, heart full of questions, yet slowly being filled with something she had not felt in a long time: belonging. Days passed. She smiled more, laughed more. She helped feed the chickens, planted new trees, and let herself breathe. He stood by her, never demanding anything, always near. He would often watch her from a distance, silently wondering if this second chance was real or just borrowed time. Then, one soft evening under the golden glow of the sunset, he stood before her with a ring, simple, humble, but sincere. "I don't need you to promise me forever," he said, voice thick with emotion. "I just want to walk with you from now on, whatever path it may be." She looked at him, eyes wide, heart racing. Memories of pain, of running, of surviving flashed in her mind. But behind them, she saw something brighter: kindness, protection, love. Tears fell, but this time, they were not from fear. She nodded, yes. That one word carried all the love, the forgiveness, and the courage she had gathered. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he would never let go, because this time, he wouldn't. And though the road ahead might still hold trials, they now had each other. After all they had been through, after everything they had lost and found, love, it turned out, had always been there, quietly waiting. The following days felt like a new beginning. The farmhouse, once quiet and empty, now echoed with soft laughter and light footsteps. She would wake up early, wrap herself in a light shawl, and go outside to watch the sun rise over the hills. He would brew her tea, leaving it on the windowsill, still hot when she returned with dewdrops in her hair and a shy smile on her lips. They didn't talk much about the past anymore, not because it was forgotten, but because they had decided to stop letting it define them. Toan, once a CEO buried in paperwork and boardroom battles, now found joy in simpler things: chopping wood, fixing fences, and watching her plant small flowers beside the porch. Tu Diem had changed, too. There was still a quiet sadness in her eyes sometimes, especially when the wind blew through the trees just like it had in the forest where she had once run for her life. But she was healing. She sang again, hummed as she cooked, and one evening even told a joke that made Toan laugh until tears came to his eyes again. Their love wasn't loud or showy. It was in the way he brushed leaves off her shoulder without saying a word. It was in the way she folded his shirts with both care and familiarity. In the way they sat side by side on the steps, watching the chickens scratch the dirt, saying nothing and everything at once. One evening, a letter arrived. It was from the authorities. They had followed Tu Diem's statement, searched the area, and found enough evidence to open a formal investigation into the two masked men she had seen. "We are grateful for your courage," the letter said. "It may have saved a life." Toan read the letter aloud, then folded it neatly. Tu Diem sat still for a moment, her hands clasped. Then she nodded. "I'm ready," she said. "Ready for what?" he asked gently. "To stop running." From that day, they began making real plans. They added more rooms to the farmhouse. They bought books on sustainable farming. They adopted a stray dog that refused to leave their doorstep sometimes. They would drive into town hand in hand and people would smile at the quiet couple with something radiant in their eyes. Then came the morning she walked up to him in the garden, holding something in her hands, a small, white envelope. "I have something to tell you," she said. He looked at her, concerned. She smiled Dan for the first time. It was wide, pure, fearless. "We're going to be parents." For a moment, time stopped. He didn't speak. He just dropped the spade in his hand and pulled her into a fierce, trembling hug. They stood there in the morning light, wrapped in each other, no words needed. Because after all they had been through, pain, fear, loss, they were finally building something no storm could tear down. Home, love had returned, and this time, it was here to stay. The days that followed felt dreamlike, as if every breeze carried a whisper of hope and every sunrise promised a new chapter. Toan became even more protective. He researched everything: prenatal care, healthy meals, gentle routines. He insisted on walking with Tu Diem wherever she went, even if it was just to the garden to pick herbs. She laughed, teasing him for being overly cautious. But deep down, she was touched. No one had ever cared for her this way. No one had ever loved her so completely. Their home began to change too. The nursery room, once just a small storage space, was transformed into a haven of warmth. Light yellow curtains, soft pillows, a cradle that Toan made with his own hands. Every detail spoke of love and anticipation. One quiet evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Tu Diem gently placed her hand over her belly. "Do you think our child will have your eyes?" she asked with a shy smile. Toan chuckled softly, wrapping his arm around her. "Maybe, but I hope they have your heart." Silence fell between them again, comfortable, deep, the kind of silence that doesn't need filling. But fate, as always, had a way of testing even the strongest bonds. One afternoon, a black car pulled up at the edge of their land. A man in a dark suit stepped out. It was Detective Thane. His face was serious. "They've found something," he said. "A lead on the men." Tu Diem saw in the forest the air grew cold, despite the summer sun. Toan stepped forward, Tell U.S. They're part of a trafficking ring. We've arrested 2 men. One of them matched the description Tu Diem gave us. We believe there are more out there, and we think they might have seen her again recently. Tu Diem's hand instinctively went to her stomach. Toan's voice was sharp. What are you saying? There's a chance she's still being watched. We'll provide protection. But you both need to be careful. That night, fear returned. But this time, they weren't running. They had each other and a new life to protect. Toan installed security systems around the house. The police stayed close, but he never let the fear steal their peace. Each morning, he would kiss her forehead and say, "We're safe. I'm here." And Tu Diem, despite the unease, chose to believe him. Because love, real love, wasn't just soft and sweet. It was also fierce, brave, unshakable. Weeks passed, then months, and one rainy morning, with the sky weeping and wind howling, their child arrived. A baby girl, pink sheet, full of life, her tiny hand wrapped around Toan's finger as if to say, "I'm here too. We made it." Tears streamed down Toan's face as he whispered, "You're our miracle." Tu Diem, exhausted but glowing, smiled through her tears. "We'll name her Haivong," she said softly. "Hope." Because after everything they had endured, from fear to flight, from loss to love, they had finally found what they had always been searching for: a future together. Check Kanoi. Life lesson from the story of Tu Diem and Toan. In life, love is not always easy. It is not always wrapped in beauty or spoken through grand gestures. Sometimes, love is found in the quiet acts of kindness, the determination to protect someone, and the courage to stand by them when the world turns dark. The story of Tu Diem and Toan teaches us a powerful lesson. True love is patient, brave, and unwavering. Tu Diem went through unimaginable fear and loneliness, lost in the forest, chased by dangerous men, and forced to hide from the world. Yet she never gave up. Her strength wasn't loud, but it was deep. She continued to hope, continued to move forward, even when every path seemed uncertain. Toan, on the other hand, showed us what it means to truly care for someone. He didn't just search for Tu Diem, he searched with his heart. He visited every place they had once shared, hoping for a sign. And when he found her, he didn't blame her or ask why, he simply brought her home and made her feel safe again. Together, they remind us that love is not just about being together in good times. It's about showing up when things are hard. It's about protecting, understanding, and building a future even when the past has left scars. And in the end, their daughter named Hope symbolizes the most important truth of all. No matter how difficult life becomes, as long as we have love, we have hope. That is the lesson. Believe in love, trust in hope, and never give up on those you truly care about.